Today, lesson 28, solving multi-step equations. As I mentioned earlier, we've been working for a while on two-step equations. Multi-step means more than two steps. So today we will be solving multi-step equations by combining like terms and using the distributive property. And it seems like for a while every single lesson has had a language objective that took something in words and writing it as an equation. We continue with that, and then our why am I learning this? So, a little bit of background knowledge as we piece together all the things we need for multi-step equations. Don't forget how to combine or add like terms. We're looking for things that have the same variable. I have always suggested you just circle or highlight the sign in front that takes out of the picture whether something is positive or negative. So, for example, that 2 is negative. And if you don't believe me, add the opposite, which is equivalent to that, and you see that it is negative 2. And also, I always use shapes to highlight like terms. And then don't forget how to solve two-step equations. And remember, if they don't come out even, sometimes we have to use long division to figure that out. All right, here is our very first problem for today. I know that this one is not written in your notes, but just do it off. Can you write that down and do it off to the side somewhere? You have a lot of room in your notes today. Write it down off to the side. So we have 4x minus 2x plus 6. The goal with a multi-step equation is to get it to look like a two-step equation. So in this one, in order to get it to look like or make it look like a two-step equation, we would need to combine our like terms of 4x minus 2x. So, yes?
It's plus 7, not plus 6.
Did I say plus 6?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. It is plus 7. Obviously, that's what it says up there. And so what we would want to do is we would want to combine like terms first. And just like with regular combining like term problems, I'm going to use shapes to highlight them. So what does 4x minus 2x simplify to, or a 4x, a positive 4x, and a negative 2x? Yes?
2x.
2x. So what this equation of 4x minus 2x plus 7 equals 19, what that turns into is 2x plus 7 equals 19. Now we've created a two-step equation. And of course, to solve that, inverse operations. So we would subtract 7 from both sides. And I don't know what happened right there. I think I accidentally hit something else. There we go. Subtract 7 from both sides. That is the subtraction property of equality. We then end up with 2x equals 12. Now we use the division property of equality and divide both sides by 2. And our solution is x equals 6. So sometimes we're going to need to combine like terms. Sometimes we'll need to use the distributive property. Sometimes we'll need to use the distributive property and then combine like terms. But the goal here is to turn this into an equation that looks like a two-step equation. All right. Everybody try number 1. In number 1, we want to combine our like terms here. This turns into 3x plus 6 equals 21, and what you need to realize is that 3x plus 6 equals 21 is equivalent to 5x minus 2x plus 6 equals 21. In other words, they represent the same thing. From there, subtraction property of equality. Subtract 6 from both sides. That leaves us with 3x equals 15. We then use the division property of equality, divide both sides by 3. And the solution is x equals 5. All right. Everybody try number 2. So the first thing, and we talked about this while I was walking around, the first thing you should always do when you have a variable without a number in front of it, there is a number, and that is a 1. And that's really the first thing that we should do so we don't forget that that is a 1x. In fact, it's a negative 1x. Some of you like to add the opposite here. You can do that if you want to, but I just circle the terms with the sign in front so that it's clear that that 1x is a negative 1x. So when I combine like terms, we end up with a 5x minus 7 equals 18. Remember, that is equivalent. This is equivalent to that. We just simplified it. Equivalent means the same thing. From there, use the addition property of equality by adding 7 to both sides. That gives us 5x equals 25. Division property of equality by dividing both sides by 5, and the solution is x equals 5. Let's take a look at number 3. Any suggestions on what we should do first? And this goes back to what we did a couple of lessons ago to sort of make things easier. Okay, put the 1 in front of the y. That wasn't what I was referring to, but obviously we should do that, yes. Yes, I would rewrite this problem because most of you like the letters to be on the left-hand side. So here's what I'm saying. Here's what I would do if I were most of you. Just take that, picture the way it is, and just move it over here. I'm not saying flip it. I'm just saying take that whole thing and move it over here. Obviously, you don't have to do that. But for some of you, that makes it easier. And then the 14, we're moving it to the other side. And then that way it looks just like what we did in number 1 and number 2. And the reality is both of those situations are equivalent to each other. Whatever you decide to do, go ahead and solve it. All right, so number 3, we put a 1 in front of the y. I'm going to leave it the way it is at this point. I'm going to combine like terms. That gives us 14 equals y plus 8. If you moved everything around, you'd have y plus 8 equals 14. Same thing. And from there, subtraction property of equality. By subtracting 8s, we end up with y. The solution equals, or the solution is y equals 6. Any questions there?
So you can write it the other way too, like y.
Of course, yes. It's the same thing. They're equivalent to each other. All right, everybody try number 4. I heard lots of good things as I was walking around the room. First thing we need to do is combine like terms. I realized that some of you, as I was walking around and watching, some of you took the 5m minus 2m plus 4 and you moved it to the other side, to the left side. You took the 19 and moved it to the right-hand side. That is fine. I'm going to leave it the way it is. Combining like terms would then simplify to 19 equals 3m plus 4. If you did it the other way, you have 3m plus 4 equals 19. From there, subtract 4 from both sides. That is the subtraction property of equality. Divide both sides by 3. That is the division property of equality. And the solution is m equals 5. Okay, so that's combining like terms. Now, the distributive property. So I think we now go to the back side of your notes. And write this problem down off to the side, please. The distributive property, as we've seen before, is a way of getting rid of parentheses. We multiply the 6 by everything inside of the parentheses. So what I'm saying is this. We should multiply the 6 times the y. And one thing that I noticed lately is a few of you have gotten a little lazy on drawing your arrows, and the people who tend to do that tend to forget to do the most important part. And that is to also multiply the 6 by the 2. And that's what some of you did on the quiz from yesterday. You forgot to multiply the 6 by the 2. So this turns into 6y minus 12, thank you, equals 60. 6 times the quantity of y minus 2 equals 60 is equivalent to this. And then from there, we have a simple two-step equation. Let's solve that. Add 12 to both sides. We get 6y equals 72. Divide both sides by 6. And we end up with a solution of y equals 12. So here is what I am saying. Listen carefully. Do not forget to multiply the outside number by both parts. That is a very common mistake when people are trying to go too fast. Don't forget to do that. All right, so let me go ahead and finish this one off here, and I would like everybody to please try number 5. And once again, if you don't like the way that looks, you can, if you want to, rewrite this into an equivalent equation like this. That's okay. I'm going to do this twice. Once with the equivalent equation that I've left up here, We multiply 4 times m, that is 4m. It is subtraction because of the subtraction right there. And then 4 times 4 is 16. And then we have equal to 16. Addition, property of equality. We add 16 to both sides. That leaves me with 4m equals 32. And then divide both sides by 4. And we end up with a solution of m equals 8. That is what pretty much everybody got. And then I left, in this version, I left it the way that it was. But it doesn't matter. You're still going to end up with a solution of m equals 8. All right, let's take a look at number 6. Before I let you loose on this one, because this one and the next one are basically a summary of everything that we've talked about so far. Raise your hand if you can tell me what it is that I have to do first here.
Put a 1 next to the x.
Okay. Glad he didn't forget that. What else should I do? Or what should I probably do next? Yes. Add the, okay, you can't add the opposite. I've been trying to get away from that because what I try and do is circle the term with the sign in front because that tells us whether it's positive or negative. But you could add the opposite. What else should I do? Yes.
Distributive property.
Start the distributive property. That's how we get rid of parentheses. So let's do that. 3 times x is 3x. The thing that people tend to forget is multiplying the 3 times the 12. That is 36. Now my next question for you is this. And I'm asking this because we had, if I covered up the equals 8, we had problems like that on yesterday's quiz where we had to use the distributive property and then combine like terms. So answer this question, please. Am I going to multiply that 3 by this negative 1x?
No.
No, it's not in the parentheses. So from there, we just write minus 1x equals 8. And then it's like number 1 and number 2 and number 3. All right, go ahead and finish it. All right, so let's take a look at this. First thing I need to do is combine like terms. I have a positive 3x and a negative 1x. If you don't believe me, add the opposite. You will see that that's a negative 1x. But either way, we end up now with 2x plus 36 equals 8. Everything seemed to go well right there. We then subtract 36 from both sides. Notice that I never write the minus 36 underneath of the 8. We've talked about that in full detail in other lessons. And here is where people made mistakes who had the wrong sign. 8 minus 36 is not 28, is it?
No.
What is it?
Negative 20.
It's negative 28. And some of us still probably, when we're finding answers to numeric problems, we still probably should add the opposite. And you can see right now we have more negatives. Therefore, it is negative 20. And that's why those of you who ended up with a solution of x equals 14, that's where you made your mistake. Okay, the solution should be x equals negative 14. All right, let me quickly finish this one up. And while I'm doing that, go ahead and try number 7. Most of you doing everything perfectly. A couple of you made a mistake. You did your distributive property correctly, but where you made your mistake was right here. That's negative 8 minus 20. If you need to, add the opposite in both spots. You have negative 8 plus negative 20. Same thing. Either way, you should end up with something that looks like this. Negative 8 plus negative 20 is negative 28. And that's where some of you made your mistake. We then add 28 to both sides. Remember, the check is making sure that these two things are opposites of each other, or they make 0, in other words, which is the additive inverse property. And then I end up with 2x equals 60. Divide both sides by 2, and the solution is x equals 30. Any questions with this problem? Okay, we've got 2 problems left, and this is the language objective part of our day. And it builds on something that we talked about on a different day. So let's take a look at number 8. Number 8 says 6 times the quantity of y minus 2 is 60. What we did a few days ago is we worked on translating those words to that equation. Remember, and I would like all of you to write this in your notes, times the quantity of always means parentheses. That's why it's 6 parentheses y minus 2, and then is a lot of times in math means equals or represents equals. All right, can I get all of you to finish that off, please? Solve it. Anybody have the solution for me? Go ahead and use the sentence frame, please.
The solution to number 8 is y equals 32.
Y equals 32. Anybody disagree with that? I'm trying to figure out how you would have got 32. I'm not quite sure. Yes?
The solution is y equals 12.
That sounds better. We use the distributive property. So Ivan, I'm still trying to figure out how you got 32. I'm not quite sure. Add 12 to both sides, divide both sides by 6, and we get a solution of y equals 12. All right, last problem for today. Everybody take a look at number 9. Convert it to an equation, and then solve it. All right, number 9. First of all, the equation should look like this. 8 times the quantity, w plus 9 equals 16. That's parentheses around the w plus 9. And then from there, we've solved enough of these today that you should kind of know what to do. What did you get for the solution?
The solution is -7. W equals 9.
Thank you for changing it to w equals -7. That looks good to me. Use the distributive property. And I wanted to end on one where we had to figure out 16 minus 72 instead of 72 minus 16. Because a couple of you, like in a previous problem, had 8w equals 56. Obviously, 16 minus 72 is -56, and then divide both sides by 8, and we get a solution of w equals -7. Quickly, turn to your shoulder partner. What did you learn today? The twos take this one.